Disney built an empire of animated fairy tales, reaching his child-friendly audience, and in recent years the company has begun producing live-action remakes. Though this isn't the first time this has happened, the studio now seems to be trying to build an entire live-action library to match this animated one. These films serve a different purpose. They possess adult themes absent from their animated counterparts. From Mouse to Mermaid Notes, popular critics and mass audiences valorize Disney as safe for children and a good investment for adults. Historically, the book points out that at the beginning, the literary fairy tales were written and published for adults. Later, they were made available to children, and by the time Disney began making films, they could be used to entertain this audience.
You can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly.
In 2010, after the success of Alice in Wonderland, the company announced plans to create Maleficent, telling the Sleeping Beauty story from the villain's perspective.
Oh, well.
But even more importantly, it tells a story of female empowerment. Following Alice in Wonderland, Maleficent continues the tradition of making these films darker. Just look at the difference.
Royalty, nobility, the gentry, and... how quaint. Even the rabble.
Royalty, nobility, the gentry, and how quaint. Even the rabble.
The exact same action happens in both scenes. Jolie's less playful delivery, the harsh lighting, and the small stinging sound effects set a darker tone. The colors are brighter in Sleeping Beauty, and there's an echo underlying the quiet fear in the castle.
I really felt quite distressed at not receiving an invitation.
You weren't wanted.
I really felt quite distressed at not receiving an invitation.
You're not welcome here.
The feisty fairy Merryweather who breaks tension in this scene is replaced with the distant anxiety between Maleficent and Stefan. Which leads us to... The entirety of the film's plot is built around the betrayal and metaphorical rape committed by Stefan against Maleficent. After reuniting and assuring his good intentions, Stefan drugs Maleficent and attempts to kill her in her sleep. Unable to do it, he burns off her wings and abandons her. Angelina Jolie's performance reflects this metaphor. Rape is actually in the original Sleeping Beauty. The story places the unconscious princess naked in a bed in the castle. A king comes to the castle, sees the beautiful nude maiden, and proceeds to rape her. It's actually not until her second child takes the splinter from the spindle out of her finger that she wakes up. This is cleaned up over the years and further changed in the Disney version, which adds a whole love story between the protagonists. Additionally, the prince knows of the curse and what he must do to break it.
Behold, King Stefan's castle. And
Here the kiss is done to wake her, rather than out of lust. The entire romance is pretty much dropped in Maleficent. The issue of consent is once again brought up towards the end. When the fairies try to coax the prince into kissing Aurora, he notes how odd it is to kiss a sleeping woman. It's also worth noting that 16-year-old Aurora is played by 14-year-old Elle Fanning, while Prince Philip is played by 24-year-old Brendan Thwaites. The character of Maleficent undergoes many changes throughout the story. She begins naive and innocent, portrayed by a child. She experiences young love, is betrayed and left empty, cold, and terrified. This becomes rage and vindictiveness, which becomes wickedness. Her costumes become darker, and she curses a baby to die, even putting in a fake back door to taunt her parents, including her innocent mother. This doesn't please her, so she remains empty, passing the time watching Aurora grow. She grows to care for Aurora and learns to love again, proven by her kiss. She then regains her incredible strength when her wings are returned. This is a complex story arc with many outside factors. No character in the entirety of Sleeping Beauty undergoes as complex a transformation as Maleficent does in this film. Maternal love is important in the film. Baby and toddler Aurora, the latter actually played by Angelina Jolie's daughter, immediately feel safe with Maleficent. She stops crying as soon as she sees Maleficent approach, much like a child stops when they see a parent. Maleficent has a maternal instinct for the child, whom she ends up raising. When Aurora first meets Maleficent as a teenager, her first thought is that Maleficent is
You're my fairy godmother.
The bond of love that the two have is stronger than any romantic one. In fact, no true romance is explored in the film. The prince's kiss is not true love. The mother-daughter bond, however, the bond between the two women, according to the film, is the strongest bond possible. Looking at Maleficent's character arc through a feminist lens, each change she undergoes reflects another story. In the innocent, useful phase of her life, she's very trusting and quickly determines that Stefan is of good character. Studies show that most rape victims know their assailant prior to the attack. Maleficent grows to feel deeply for Stefan. She is blinded to his flaws by her emotions, making her a vulnerable target. And Maleficent is horrified and broken by her rape. She literally loses a piece of herself, her wings. Her innocence is gone. Maleficent becomes vengeful and wants to make Stefan suffer. Not only has she been denied revenge, he has been rewarded. Very few rape cases make it to court, find defendants guilty, and earn them long sentences. This leads her into wickedness. She hits a low point when she allows her hatred of Stefan to allow her to curse an innocent child.
How wonderful.
Looking at Maleficent as a mother figure to Aurora, one can think of Aurora as the child of this rape. Maleficent as the victim can only see Stefan in the child, and as a result hates it. Even after punishing Stefan, Maleficent still has no wings. She just watches Aurora and isn't satisfied. As she watches, she begins to see the young girl's personality and looks evolve, both of which are distinct from Stefan's. There are visual parallels between Maleficent and Aurora. In an interview with Vanity Fair, costume designer Anna B. Shepard explained that when teenage Aurora first meets Maleficent, she wears a cape and coat mirroring the one that Maleficent wore the night her wings were stolen, reminding Maleficent of her prior innocence. Now Maleficent can see herself in her daughter, so to speak, and none of Stefan at all. It is after she learns to love again and proves this love with the kiss that Maleficent regains her wings, her strength, and her happiness. Stefan can be viewed as a stand-in for the patriarchy. He is a greedy, cowardly, power-hungry, and selfish man. Stefan commits the worst offense he can and steals her wings, betraying her, breaking her heart, and leaving her worse than dead, not out of misplaced kindness, but weakness. He has taken a piece of her both physically and emotionally. He expresses no care for his daughter, giving her away immediately to strangers, and expresses no joy to see her upon her return. He mostly ignores her. He also pays little attention to his wife. He grows mad and maintains his weakness and uselessness, his malicious pride being his eventual downfall as the strong female lead defeats the patriarchy. This can be categorized as an adult-targeted film. It's obvious that films like Frozen and Alice in Wonderland target different audiences.
Winter's a good time to stay in and cuddle, but put me in summer and I'll be a happy snowman!
Off with your head!
As a mother, there is something very nice knowing you can take your kids to a Disney film and you know it has something good for them in it, and it's not going to hurt them and it's not going to say anything that's offensive to them or bad for them.
In 2002, Annalie R. Warren notes that Disney aims its films particularly at children, and that most adults do not go to G-rated movies, which are traditionally marketed to the very young, and if they do go, they do not expect to be entertained with adult themes.
And so it had to have something a little sexy about it, a little edgy about it, and we had to find that balance, and that was the challenge.
The creation of a live-action Disney fairy tale brand with dark themes allows Disney to reach a new demographic and grow up with its audience. This gives children fantasy, and then familiar images to transition them to reality, as well as offer a window into nostalgia. It's familiar but slightly different in a new and exciting way. Disney can update and repackage stories to reach a more modern audience and an older one. So as we continue to age, Disney can age with us.